Yes, so I'm yet again going to push my own buttons, to trigger my own triggers, to stimulate me to play with words, to describe what's inscribed in my memories, in my waters. Because these sunken ships are rising these days. So I'm going to mention the dimension of fragmentation. The fragmentation of soul, the fragmentation of mind, the fragmentation of experiences, and the parallels between how experiences are saved and recorded partially in the memory and stored in the waters of the mind, but in the deep, deep, deep mind. The sunken relationships from 20 odd years ago, where in my imagination, my soul instruction was to leave the air mind and through alcohol and DMT and magic mushrooms and triggering experiences to be able to hold my head underwater, to be able to open my eyes underwater, metaphorically speaking, to be able to see into my own subconscious, to fish around in that school of thought just beneath the surface in this lifetime. From yesterday and last year, and from when I was a teenager, and from those earliest memories that I have, which are not so early, as a 7-year-old, as a 10-year-old, there are not very many of those memories. And I may tell myself, as an agent, as a gent, I may intel a gent myself, I may intelligence my agency and ask myself, why would anyone want to listen to this? Why would I want to speak this into a microphone that's going to get recorded into a collective consciousness on the Facebook Meta Live? So I'm being straight with you here. I am using this medium in a similar sort of way that people might go to Speaker's Corner in London and just rant whatever's on their mind, thinking it's going to make a difference, and that maybe some people in the passing throng might gather and listen, maybe even spark a discussion that's worth having. And the Facebook Live is in some ways a metaverse version of Speaker's Corner. Many of us has come to realize that we can project ourselves onto the internet, and those that resonate with something, or those who deeply oppose something, might listen in. So yes, on some level I'm doing this as an outreach, that it may help some people, might be interesting to some people, and that we may interrest, we may rest with each other, interestingly, and stimulate some memories which are in the collective consciousness, and deeper memories that are in the collective subconsciousness, and deepest of all memories that are in the collective unconsciousness, the nest of the unconscious. I know from my point of view I'm just repeating ideas which I've already shared. And some minds might switch off and go, I've already heard this, there's nothing new for me here. There may be other people who have thought these things already and are like, I already remember this stuff. There may be some people who live in the eggshell, fragile mind and haven't really been able to touch their own feelings deeply enough to feel stable enough and buoyant enough to be able to go into the depressed feelings to retrieve memories that have been buried. I spent 6 years in Glastonbury town. It was almost like an open-air prison sentence. But as the old IRA Fenians know, prison is actually a great place to go to study. A prison cell is a very private place. If you can get yourself into solitary confinement for bad behaviour, you've got no option but to be locked up in a prison cell in a cuboid thought form, to have to reason with oneself, how did I get myself into this situation? It's a good place to study if they'll give you the books, but it's a good place to study if you just have to sit with yourself and do the thing of defragmentation. Defragmentation is where there are jumbles of memories, jungles of fragmented memories that have been stored as images in the mind, representations of what actually happened, but compressed memories, compressed into an image, a little dream sequence. They're not necessarily accurate because they've been compressed, just like a MP3 audio song doesn't have all the information that was going on in the atmosphere when it was recorded, compared to a .wav file, which is going to record a huge amount of subtle energies in the atmosphere, in the recording studio. So defragmentation is to be able to separate those fragments and try to reimagine, to fill in the blanks of what wasn't fully recorded. I've just spent the last 20 years of my life attempting to defragment the overwhelming experiences that I took upon myself by acting out so dramatically on that stage of Glastonbury, which I think of in my own poetic mind as glass town buried. Glass is sand that you can see through. Sand is what we call time. Sand records memories. Sand is like programmable matter. You can make sand castles. It'll stand for a while until the waves come in and dismantle the structure. But the mind will have recorded the memories of making that sandcastle. And those memories of making the sandcastle will be stored in the mind, and it will be stored with emotional feelings. So where the mind stores the memories in the feelings is relative to the emotions, not just to the facts. So this is how the memories get jumbled up, because where they're addressed in the memory banks is by the emotional resonance rather than the factual sequences of events. So defragmentation is what occurs when we are dreaming. In the dreams, things are not logical in the sequences in which things may have happened. And there are things included in dreams which are not quite correct memory recall. So I'm mostly living in a dream time, aware that we're all living in a dream time, but I no longer take the mental reality as if it's truth. I recognize that the mental reality is a simulation of feelings recurring. The feelings come back up and manifest circumstances that bring back up the sunken memories of something that has not settled on the ocean floor as a sediment, where structures have been buried. Sometimes bits of those fragments rise back up to the surface and manifest as a strange synchronicity happened today, and I met such and such, and things happened, and it reminded me of things that happened before, and it can engage that the rape that happened in the past turns into bumping into somebody through a set of circumstances in which that same rape happens again by the same person or a different person. But I don't just mean sexual rape, I also mean emotional rape. I actually mean that what is going on a lot of the time is the mind is raping the feelings to try and recapture the essence, taking innocence and sculpting it into a replay. So stuff I'm talking about here is obviously going to bring up and trigger other people's memories I've no idea of. This is why sometimes I say that I am a danger to society, and have been arrested many times for being a danger to society, or even a danger to myself. So the thing I initially was willing to make this recording about this morning is to do with things that came up last night. Not so much in a personal sense, but in the collective dream sense. Gotta go.